Jim Collison, Infotech 2014. We're back for some more interviews this afternoon. I'm here with Mike Simpson. Mike and I actually go back 7 years.
No, just over 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years here in Omaha. I was working for Omnium Worldwide, which became West Asset Management. We did some work together in BI. I moved on to do some things with Gallup. You have moved on and gone to Denver.
Correct.
And Catch Intelligence, we interviewed Mark Florish yesterday, so if you're looking at this video, you can just kind of search through the Infotech 2014 list if you want to see Mark, and Mark kind of covered the conversion from people services to Catch Intelligent. Mike, I want to spend a little bit of time with you asking you about BI specifically. Mark kind of gave me these couchy executive answers when I was trying to dig into the BI piece, you know, what he's supposed to do, right? But I'm hoping to get some details from you. Tell me a little bit about, before we do that, you've moved to Denver. Tell me how things are going in Denver for you.
Things are great in Denver. Business is growing out there, you know, so you got the business side of it, but family-wise, family's loving it. Skiing,
outdoors, we talked about that. I'm pretty jealous. I'm pretty jealous indeed. And so a lot of the work that you're doing out there, kind of categorize for me some of the work that you've been doing.
Sure. Primarily that work has been, I'm doing a lot of work lately with integrating BusinessObjects with SAP systems.
Okay. Now, SAP now owns BusinessObjects, right? And that was a purchase.
That is correct. Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago, maybe?
It's been about 4 years ago. So I kind of lived through that merger transition.
Yeah, you did.
There was a lot of skepticism for a while on what was going to happen. SAP's track record with purchasing companies is a lot of time molding them into their environment. Well, BusinessObjects, one of its powers was the ability to plug into any system. So obviously for a while we were concerned and worried about that.
Sure.
We've since moved past that. They've kept BusinessObjects pretty autonomous from that perspective. Still integrating it within SAP,
right,
but still supporting a lot of the legacy customers from that perspective and moving them through the process as well on the upgrades.
And so with BusinessObjects, that you guys pretty much, I mean, you center a lot of your business around the BusinessObject infrastructure still?
Yes, that is a big percentage of our business, and our focus is around BusinessObjects, primarily just because you know, you got BusinessObjects with an entire tool set all the way from ETL, dealing with database and business warehouses and stuff like that, all the way up through the development tools, and combining all that information together and being able to track and see where data is coming from, what transformations have happened to that data to the point in time where it actually gets delivered to the client.
Yeah. Now, 5 years ago, let's say 7 years ago, when you and I were doing this, BusinessObjects had been the purchaser. They had bought all these different tools.
Correct.
Cognos, no, Crystal Reports is part of that. Right?
Correct.
It was part of that acquisition, but they had some other tools and data integrators and some of those kinds of pieces, and it was still a little rough 7 years ago.
Absolutely.
I hope it's gotten better in that time.
You know, it has. When BusinessObjects and SAP released the new 4.0 system, came out a couple years ago, that was pretty rough. It was really an application that a lot of people in the industry felt maybe got released prior to being complete.
Sure.
And really operational.
Because nobody does that ever.
No, absolutely. You know, we don't see it with any software providers.
Microsoft never does that, or Google definitely Google never does that.
But it really was a perspective that even with a lot of clients that I had, I mean, I was really encouraging them to stay on the old system until the new one became more stable and ready for prime time, if you will. Now, the system is functioning, you know, not flawlessly. Obviously, you have issues with any software.
Sure.
But to the point now that it's very stable, very reliable, and really delivering a great value.
Sure. So if we look at the BI stack from the database up or down, just depending on how you model it. But if we start with the database, we got to get the data in. What kind of tools do they offer to be able to help get that data in? You know, because data lineage was always a promise of a lot of these tools, that from the moment I grab the data to the moment I present it in BI, I have accountability. I have a chain of evidence, I used to like to say, that I could track what happened to it and what was transformed and where it went and where it sat. And so if a piece of data was going to change in the warehouse, what would they do in my reporting? In 7 years ago, that was sketchy if you could get all the way there.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about the state of that today and what kind of tools do you use to get there?
Pieces to that are still sketchy today.
Sure.
From the perspective that a lot of people think that they can go out and purchase an ETL tool, then purchase, database tools, and then purchase reporting tools and track all that lineage all the way through. Really, that's where people have a misconception. If you're trying to stay within an individual suite of products, so in this case, BusinessObjects, we've got the data services side of it that handles all the ETL processes from, data quality, data cleansing capabilities that are within that software as well. Then you move up into that from the perspective of once it's in the warehouse or wherever you're moving the data into, we can drop a semantic layer on top of it, which is generally the universes. Those universes then have all the translations.
I haven't heard that in a long time, universe.
Yes,
Very
universes.
Nice, yeah, all right.
And then down to the actual reporting piece. As long as the tools are still within the same suite, most companies are doing a better job of it. And BusinessObjects to this day, what we were trying to do 7 years ago, and some of the issues that we were running into, it's vastly different today. Especially now with some of BusinessObjects' new database tools like HANA and things like that. It's those same ETL tools from data services are going to be the primary tools that are loading those in-memory systems. So they're really integrating the entire suite across the platform. Okay. So understanding where it's coming.
Sure. So it's gotten better. We still have a ways to go. It's like Ancestry.com, following the tree. Sometimes can be difficult, but we're getting more and more pieces maybe put together in BI. One of the promises of BI for a long time was these dashboarding, scorecarding, and that too has been an elusive. A lot of organizations have had a hard time really getting that working. The visualization piece is getting better, and what kind of enhancements have they been bringing in the last year or two to make it better?
Sure. BusinessObjects just came out with a new product called Design Studio. It's now coming in, and first when they released it, it was really integrated with the SAP system. BW, SAP HANA, those were the primary data sources. Now, with the latest release, that's where we're going back now and getting into universes for connection options within those tools. That is taking some of the old Flash concepts and the Flash viewers and things that we've had problems with, and replacing that with a Java-based application, so it's all JavaScript and programming on that perspective. Excuse me. So that piece is there. We still have Excelsius, which is now dashboards.
Oh, I haven't heard that in a while either. Yeah. Very nice.
They made a lot of enhancements over the years too. I mean, I probably built my first one on that. It was about 6.5 years ago, not too long after we had met.
Yeah, and Excelsius had some of those easy-to-consume dashboarding, sliders, those kinds of things, right?
Yeah, and it
was
that had
been an acquisition too.
Correct. Yeah, it kind of came up through the Crystal acquisition.
Right.
That's really where it started at. But with that tool, we are able to kind of shift a lot of that development. That is a tool that was designed more for a business user or a business customer, not necessarily IT to have to build. Design Studio is going to be out there, but it's from a perspective of JavaScripting, Java language that you're really going to have to understand more to get it to work correctly. Excelsius was really built on the foundation of somebody didn't have to be a programmer. It's the learning curve was extremely small. So really, it was a tool that just about anybody could use. We've really outgrown that tool from the perspective that, not from a development perspective, because there's still a lot of businesses that want to be able to develop it, but tools like that generally have limitations.
Sure.
Where with the Design Studio piece and being able to run all that JavaScript and code and everything, there's so much more that we can do within those applications today than we could, even 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see as those things have come along. Certainly in your work, you're in the trenches every single day working with folks. Companies that want to deploy a BI initiative, what are the one or two things that people are still stumbling on? What are the problems that you're still seeing day in and day out that it's just really tripping people up? And then maybe how do you overcome those?
Sure. One of the biggest probably issues that I run into is business acceptance.
Mm.
You've got your business units that are really stuck in dealing with things from an Excel standpoint.
That still happens?
It still happens.
Do you find an access databases throughout organizations still?
I do. They are fewer and far between.
Are they really?
Now,
yeah.
But
yeah.
Literally, I was just talking with somebody on Monday. Never met with them. And one of the sources that we're trying to compile together was an actual access database. So yes,
that's just painful.
Yes,
still painful.
It is, but it's reality.
Yeah.
So, but the business is comfortable with the way that they've been doing business for years.
Sure.
So that's been kind of one of the big obstacles that we have to overcome. The way to overcome it is any successful implementation is always going to have an executive business sponsor. These things cannot be driven by IT alone. They're going to have to be driven by the business.
Yeah. So huge getting the business buy-in on things and getting them. And, you probably still see this too, the organization, the business bringing a tool to IT and saying, hey, can you just implement this without, that happens too, right? Without any involvement from or thinking about the IT infrastructure or how any of those kinds of things are set up and how to make that work and blah blah blah. I guess your answer tells me not a lot has changed. The software's changed, but the problems still remain the same. Right?
It's
executive buy-in.
Yeah.
Right.
Generally, it's just a different twist on the same problems that we always face.
Yeah. What are you excited about in the future? What are you seeing out there right now, specifically maybe in the area of BI that you're hoping for and make life a little bit better, a little bit easier, or whatever along those lines?
For me, it's the true integration of software across the entire platform. There's been so many pieces over the years that are kind of separated. Now it is all the way from, SAP's got their products and their deliverables that they have, but really integrating that across the entire platform. But at the same point in time, I love the fact that BusinessObjects is still remaining autonomous, that you don't have to then buy SAP to run the powerful tools that are out there from a business perspective. That, and frankly, it's performance. We've seen, everyone's been talking about 64-bit systems forever. Finally, within the new 4.0 system and 4.1 with the new BusinessObjects release, it's actually a true 64-bit operating system.
Taking advantage of that.
So yes, absolutely. So for me, it's a lot of the performance enhancements, the tuning, the new capabilities. When we started 7 years ago, it was really, we had our choices: Web Intelligence, Crystal. Excelsius was in there.
Yeah.
But that was really it.
Sure.
Now I take it to the point that I have not only Webby, Crystal, Excelsius or dashboards. I now have the new Design Studio. I've got Explorer. I've got Analysis for OLAP. I've got Lumira. So the tool set has grown, but it also poses new challenges. And this is kind of one of the pieces that I love doing is finding the right tools for the right job. It's not making the tools fit what I want them to do.
Sure.
It's finding the tool that fits what I need.
Yeah, because we spent a lot of time rigging those things to kind of, this isn't the best, but this is all we got, so we're just going to make this work.
Yeah, you were limited on the tools and capabilities. We could still make just about anything work.
Yeah.
But it maybe wasn't the most efficient and best way to do it.
Right.
And now with the change in the tools and in the increased tool set just within BusinessObjects, that's where we're able to expand those. Yeah.
Are you getting you doing much work with in memory? Using those kinds of technologies, speed. Getting data to the front has always been the hardest part, and then Google and Facebook have had to go with different big data solutions because relational databases just wouldn't work for them, to be honest. And so they've come up with other concepts, but I'm sure you're still seeing a lot of relational data out there as well.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of relational data. I'm seeing a lot of move towards OLAP. One of the pieces within SAP BW, that's all cubes, all OLAP based.
Yep.
with their own proprietary
yeah,
coding.
spin on it, right?
But
yeah, Oracle has the same kind of OLAP engine, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and then, but that's really where the push right now is for organizations to start looking and moving towards that in-memory type solution. Right. The biggest drawbacks right now are, or have been, cost of entry into those solutions, because the hardware that you're sitting on today with the software that you're going to need to do it, they were multi-million-dollar investments.
Yeah.
Those prices are coming down. They're starting to restructure them now that they've been out there more. They're starting to package them more. So a lot of those solutions are really available, and that is the piece from SAP, which is at HANA. That is that in-memory solution that they are providing.
Yeah, it's I'd love to say it's a brave new world. It probably is, in some sense, that while some things stay the same, a lot of things change, and yet they stay the same when they come back around, right? We still talk about some of the same problems that we faced. I don't know if those changes in the business will ever, those problems will ever change, right? It's always that human element. We've been talking with some security guys over the last couple of days. And they'll all say to a person, the weakest link in any security plan is the person, is the human, is the right? We are the weakest link now in the system. And I think same in a lot of these.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things. I mean, it's anytime you have human intervention into a process, we have less control.
Yeah.
So that's some of the pieces that when we're working on data warehousing projects and ETL processes and down through reporting, trying to automate as much of it as possible to eliminate a lot of the human intervention, because unfortunately that's where a lot of the mistakes will happen within data. Not intentionally, obviously.
User input.
Absolutely.
Anytime we touch it, it's prone to error.
You mixed up the formula from column C to D, and now your data's all wrong.
Right.
So eliminating that as much as possible. And a lot of times people are really concerned about our automation eliminating their job. Well, no, I mean, just think of the backlog of stuff that's sitting on your desk, that if I can save you 2 hours in a week, how much of that are you going to be able to start working on? The years of doing this, I've never put anyone out of a job.
And I'm only getting busier. Even with more automation, I'm only getting busier.
Absolutely.
And yet, the more automation there is, the more things that I'm doing with people. Right, I mean, some of that frees me up to come out and do these kinds of things, right? Have these kinds of discussions, and yet all the technology we use to get it done. I don't render the video anymore; it automatically is rendered, right, when we're done here. It's a couple clicks to set up and display. I mean, it's really fantastic what we're doing here. Just when you think about this technology, and here we are. And I did it for there's maybe $2,000 worth of equipment here. Maybe that's probably too much in all this. Well, Mike, thanks again for taking a few minutes to come out and interview. Good to see you.
It's been great to see you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.